Hi, my name is Frank Turner and this is Zero Platoon. Music wasn't a massive part of my life. I mean, it was in my life. My parents listened to classical music and stuff, but it wasn't something I particularly cared about. My parents don't really believe in any kind of modern music, so I never really heard any kind of rock and roll stuff apart from, you know, TV adverts or whatever. And then I was doing Games Workshop, you know, little kind of figures, orcs and goblins and that sort of shit. I was into that, and a friend of mine's older brother had an Iron Maiden poster, and it kind of seemed like it was a Games Workshop type thing. So I said it was cool, and his brother said, well, it's a band, and I got a copy of Killers, their second record, and I can still remember actually putting that tape in and pressing play and the start of the Ides of March, and it was like a light switch just went on in my head. The next thing that happened was I started bugging my parents to get a guitar. But I started just learning how to play, really. But I got in a band. There was a guy called Chris, who I'm still friends with now, actually. He's my oldest friend. He lived just down the way from me, and he had a drum kit, and we started playing together pretty early doors. I mean, I would have been about 11 or 12 or so when we started playing together. And then we had a band, and initially we did, initially it was just me and him, and then we got a couple other people in as well, but we did like AC/DC and Nirvana covers because they were easy. That wasn't the only stuff we were listening to, but that was the only stuff we listened to that we could play. And then sooner or later, yeah, I started kind of writing my own stuff, but initially it was just a case of quite often it was just like take an existing chord sequence and change one chord kind of thing. It was like, haha, I've written a song. You know, I remember taking the chords to Knocking on Heaven's Door and changing the A minor to an A major and being like, I've written a song. So it was very early doors. I don't really consider that to be sort of art in any way. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of childish mucking around. I mean, I don't want to completely disparage it because I was very young, but and my friend Chris actually has a fair amount of it on cassettes that he just stuck a boombox and record in the corner of the room, and I do have to now hunt him down and kill him for that. I remember we had a song called Wonderful World that was about how the world wasn't wonderful or something, and I've been listening to loads of Clash and Sex Pistols stuff. I think it was kind of like a crap rip-off of Sex Pistols lyrics. And then like I remember we had a song called Bombardment that was about cities getting destroyed that we all thought was really cool. But I mean, you know, I was like 13 or something, so it was all pretty. I mean, I was pretty kind of. I wanted to be punk, and you know, punk means a lot of different things to different people. But the kind of the end of punk that involves kind of having spiky hair and spitting at people and shouting and going "fuck off" at your parents was definitely the bit that appealed to me when I was young. I'm not a particularly kind of overwhelmingly kind of optimistic person by default, but I'm quite a proactive person. You know, I believe quite strongly that for most people, life is what you make of it. Obviously, there are restrictions on that to do with, you know, health and money and all that kind of thing. But like, you know, the thing that I took away from punk as an idea was that if you work hard, you can create your own life, your own world. You know, and you're not condemned by what you were born into. It's sort of true for me as well, in that I was like an academic scholarship kid. And I wasn't supposed to be a musician, certainly wasn't supposed to be a punk musician with tattoos and stuff, you know. And I chose to be this and worked really hard at making it happen. And anyway, hold on, I've gone on topic now. But so the point is like, you know, I think I'm kind of quite a sort of determined person, but perhaps not an optimistic one. And you know, life has its ups and downs. Particularly the last two records. I mean, Take That Heart was about sort of my personal life falling apart, and which it did with some spectacularity, and it was entirely my fault as well, so that's kind of what that record was about. The new one is about trying to kind of pick your way through that wreckage to something more positive, you know. So I guess it's not quite don't worry, be happy, it's kind of like worry, but then do something about it. Somebody grabbed me outside of Venny the other day and put a camera in my face and said, "What's your philosophy of life in one sentence? Don't think about it, go." And it was just like, Jesus Christ, man, like, what the fuck? But what I came up with was just like, you know, life is a fundamentally awful situation, but don't let the fuckers win. Don't take that shit lying down. Fight back, you know. And I think that's kind of how I look at the world. When it comes to like, you know, the problems that Take That Heart was about, there's no way that I could deny that it was entirely my fault what had happened. the relationship fell apart, and it was because of what I do for a living, basically. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like I don't want to just kind of like sit in a dark room and be fucked off about it. And to be honest, I do that sometimes. I mean, because yesterday somebody asked me on Insta, it's like, how do you have it all figured out, man? It's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't have anything figured out. And I do the sitting in the room doing nothing about it stuff, but I just don't, or at least I try to write songs about getting out of that rather than about that moment itself. I think the new record is definitely, or at least supposed to be more optimistic than the previous one. It's written from the kind of from the aftermath of a collapse rather than the middle of it. Demons was a funny one. There's a writer called Clive James who I'm very, very obsessed with, who's an Australian cultural critic who I love, and he's currently dying. He has terminal cancer. It's very sad. And there's a great quote of his where he says, he wrote an essay about death in which he said, "The long summer holiday of life has come to an end and I have to go back to school." And I just thought that was one of the greatest things I'd ever read in my life. And Demons sort of came out of that. Okay, the song is, it's about my friend Josh who took his life, and no one's sort of coming, and I wanted to write a song about my reactions to that. And it was, sort of any situation like that, it's very extreme, and I have a lot of feelings about it, I was fortunate enough when it happened, if that's the right word, to be on tour with a band called Lucero, who are the guys who introduced me to Josh in the first place. So I was lucky enough to be around people who I could have that conversation with in depth, And it was a strange, there's anger as part of it, and then just the gaping chasm of loss and of irreversibility. But also, there has to be understanding somewhere as well. And I've had my ups and downs in life. I don't want to go too into detail on things, on camera, as it were. But both to do with stuff with my family and personal stuff, and drugs has been a problem in my life here and there as well. And you definitely have times when that kind of thing starts feeling like an option, and I'm pleased that it hasn't been one I've tried to take, or that I haven't taken. But like I say, the kind of the lyric in the song is about what makes me so sad about Josh. He's exactly the person who would have told me that was a fucking stupid idea and that I shouldn't even think like that, And then of all of the people that I know, he honestly, if he'd asked me to draw up a list 3 years ago of the people I know who are going to take their life, he would have been on the bottom of that list. We wouldn't have been anywhere fucking near that list. And it's so sad to me that it went down like it did. This is kind of what the title of the last record is just sort of a nod to, is that sort of like age-old argument I think a lot of people in this corner of the music world have had, of like there are some people who don't understand that sad songs make you feel better, and it's just like, how shallow must your existence be to not grasp that pretty basic point. But I listen to something like Exit Music for a Film by Radiohead, to pick a random song off the top of my head, or indeed Anything by Townes Van Zandt, and they're sad songs but they make me feel better, and there's art, or at least a lot of art, is about connection, it's about communication, and it's about, in a way, the art that I like is that kind of stretching out of a hand in the void and just saying there's other people who feel the way that you feel. So yeah, music is a big part of it. Townes Van Zandt is a massive one for me, actually. I have his initials tattooed on my wrist, and I have a back piece coming together with some of his lyrics in. And, to live is to fly, shake the dust out of your wings and the smoke out of your eyes. And, just like, even just waiting around to die, that's a big one for me. The weaker than, everything John K. Samson has done has been hugely influential in my life. That's not an exaggeration. So if I had to pick two, I would pick those two.
To a really dark place, and I decided to quit playing music, to quit writing music, and